afternoon. You are watching Live from the 50s. I'm Savannah.
And I'm Rose.
Let's get started. Earlier this week, a woman named Rosa Parks had an incident on a city bus. She would not give up her seat to a white man. The bus driver had to call the police after she refused many times. As a result of this event, we got a lot of civil rights movements going on right now. The Brown versus Board occurred when the public schools refused to allow Americans to attend. Due to the 14th Amendment, segregation is considered unconstitutional. Right now, Armando has a full report on the Korean War.
Thanks, Savannah. For 3 years, the war within the peninsula has drawn fear to the American people. It all started when North Korea invaded the South's capital, Seoul. This brought the U.S. intention to go to war against the North. A brilliant success occurred when the U.S. troops pushed the North all the way to the Yalu River until China warned that we would have to have a full-scale war. On July 27, the advisory signed an armistice, and the border between the North and South remained on the 38th parallel. This is Armando from Live from the 50s.
Thank you, Armando. We are now with Timur on the Beat Movement.
The Beat Movement is an American social and literary movement centered in the bohemian artist communities of San Francisco's North Beach and Los Angeles' Venice West and New York City's Greenwich Village. Its adherents, styled as beat and derisively called beatniks, express their alienation from conventional or square society by adopting an almost uniform style of seedy dress, manners, and hip vocabulary borrowed from jazz musicians. This is Timur, live from the 50s.
Alright, now we're going to talk about fashion. The most popular trend is the waistline. This caused some issues in which women love the snug fit of a beautiful dress, but with a flattering waistline, while others don't seem to like it at all. With more freedom, women don't feel they have to listen to society. Dresses have more of a vertical line, with whom narrow straightness is often emphasized by the cute, sweet tuck of a pleating. Men often wear suits today because they want to show their appealing look. We now have Zach on Live about music.
That's right, music and entertainment is starting to grow in the 50s. Rock and roll is starting to grow ever since Elvis Presley showed up. Television is becoming bigger and better. Jazz music was facing new competition. Rock and roll is the reason why teenagers are becoming rebellious due to the differences of their parents. And this is Zach, live from the 50s.
Thank you, Zach, and here's Armando back on the Cold War.
Thanks, Rose. There has been an increased tension between the United States and the Soviet Union after World War II. Western leaders are beginning to worry that the spread of communism will threaten democracy and capitalism everywhere. Therefore, communism must be contained by diplomacy, threat, or force. The Korean War is the first war that took place during the Cold War. Back to you, Savannah.
All right, now we're going to talk about our two great presidents in our decade. President Truman served in office from 1945 to 1953. He did amazing things like when he vetoed the Taft-Hartley Act, which prohibited jurisdictional strikes, his famous one, the Truman Doctrine, which was used to try to contain communism in Europe. Next was Eisenhower, who was in office from 1953 to 1961. He threatened to use nuclear weapons, forcing China to agree to a ceasefire of the Korean War. Now we're going to listen to Timur again on communism.
The overall economy grew by almost 37%. By the end of the decade, the median American family had 30% more purchasing power than at the beginning. Unemployment had dropped as low as 4.5%. People of the time had been living with bare essentials for 2 decades. The Great Depression and the war had severely halted spending. In the 50s, the boasted economy caused people to spend more, and spend more they did. In the 1950s, the consumer was considered a patriotic citizen. Product placement was huge, and TV shows were always placed in a house filled to lighten the mood. Between 1950 and 1960s, Americans purchased 20 million refrigerators, 214 million cars, and 5.5 million TVs. America's consumers consumed 1/3 of goods and services. By 1955, 250,000 TVs were being bought every month. Popular shows include I Love Haley, Leave It to Beaver, and other things include the TV industry, the plastic industry, and the jet engine industry growing. That's me with the 1950s consumerism.
Let's get back to Zach on car culture.
While cars have big influence on the U.S. culture as much as music, the American man-tacting economy switched from processing war-related items to the consumer goods from World War II. At the end of our decade, 1 in 6 working Americans were employed either directly or indirectly into auto industries. The U.S. is now the world's largest manufacturer of automobiles. Back to you, Rose.
Thanks, Zach. Now we're going to do a close-up on Joseph McCarthy. Yes, the strange man. Former American senator from Wisconsin, this strange man accused composers, World War vets, directors, actors, and writers. This led to witch hunts in the government, which started to make citizens panic. As a result, many Americans lost their jobs, and because of this, insanity. Remember, not to accuse people before you get your facts straight, so you don't ruin people's lives.
Go.
That's it for today's news.
You've been watching Live from the 50s.